Hello and welcome. My name is Kevin Robinson. So glad you joined us today. I'm looking forward to accelerating your success in using AI, going from noise and confusion, frustration, into really getting extraordinary elite results. This is your first course, AI Fundamentals Part 1.
Welcome to AI Fundamentals. Today we're going to take a look under the hood of a large language model and learn how to master AI from the perspective of large language models. Keyword here being language. Okay, so maybe some of you have seen the movie Her, where the guy is actually talking to AI and falls in love with it. Sounds crazy sometimes. There are many people I talk to that say AI has become more friendly than their spouse or their significant other, or many times even their friends. We need to discard this idea that there's some magic going on underneath the covers here. There are even people that believe it might not be a machine talking to them, but another human being. Not that it hasn't happened, but I will say this, there is no magic. AI is a structured pattern recognition machine, and it mathematically calculates the most probable sequence to answer your question. I'll look a little bit deeper without getting too technical, but I do want you to realize that it is designed to make sure that you get the illusion that it is intelligent. Okay, buckle up, folks, because this is about as technical as we're going to get. The hood is fully up, and I really need you to understand what's going on under the covers so that we don't ever confuse what this machine operation is as actually knowing something. We're actually taking words, which this is a very good model of language that can quantify these language terms, be they words or phrases. So here we got the quick brown fox. This is what we're typing in. And then we're getting back the dog. So in actual fact, what's happening is these words that are being taken in are being taken to a data structure. And this data structure is called semantic vectors. This is semantic data retrieval that's happening. And so each of these words or phrases, in some cases, they're words, in other cases, they're phrases. So we might be taking the word quick and we might be getting that turned into a vector, a number, or the word lazy, or it might be a portion of a word, or it could be a combination of words like a phrase like the brown fox. And those combinations, like the brown fox, give us context. And it might be as opposed to a gray fox or a red fox. So now what's happening is we're getting more context. These would be actually three different dots somewhere in here. So they would be close together because they're all foxes. Uh, as doctor is to physician, we might see two close dots over here that are connected in ways that say these are relevant to each other, provides context, identifies synonyms, words that are alike. I could say fox and dog are both canines, so they would live somewhere in a close relationship to each other in terms of their numerical value. And this is how it provides insight into intent. So now let's take that one step further. It analyzes the data, provides it into a semantic data structure, and then it maps with historical data patterns. This is a word you may have heard before. It's called an algorithm. It's just identifying a pathway, and then it predicts what it thinks the next thing is going to be based on the semantic patterns that it's seen in the past. So a large language model is really a group of patterns that are being run and predicting with it hopes with the greatest confidence what the next thing is. So in our case, when we're doing inference, we're really going through a lot of words. It's creating a very big uh, semantic vector structure that's being passed back, and it's returning a lot of data in terms of words and ideas and thoughts, again, that are related and within the context. So, this is why context matters. This is a very important concept within using AI, is that context is going to give you a stronger advantage in how you use it. So that's the main reason I needed you to understand this is how the models work. And to get better results from those models, we need to pay attention to these rules. Okay, so now that we've gotten that out the way, we're still under the hood, but it will be a little less technical. A couple more vocabulary words if you can hang with me. Okay. So we've been using information technology for quite some time, mostly in the form of programs and programming languages. So now what we're seeing, programming languages will give you predictable results. Typically, you put something in and it gives you the same thing out. If you give it the same thing, you get the same thing out. Well, that has limitations. That means we have to consider every single thing, and that can be quite complicated. So, what has AI done for us? AI has given us a particularly new approach to things. So, as we saw on the last slide, all of it's based on data. So, if you don't have any data, you don't have any AI. So, let's really dig into that. Uh, the data that's provided to AI, and massive amounts of data, is what it uses to what we call train it. Training is where those historical data patterns get recognized, and we reinforce which patterns are good and which ones are not. So this is almost identical to how your brain learns, in that it builds these pathways, they call them neural networks, that allow us to remember and execute on things in our thinking. So it is actually imitating thinking from that perspective, but it is not intelligent. And again, the data that it's trained on does matter. So it has things called bias and so forth that can show up, because if the data shows that this we have more rainy days in Seattle, and then I apply that same algorithm to New York, it will start thinking that it's wrong because there are not as many rainy days. So just that's called bias. It's thinking and trying to predict based on the data that it has. Make sense? Okay, so here's the risk. If it's training on data, and when we're having inference, when we're asking AI questions, that is data. We just saw that. So is it getting that data as well to train on? Well, in many cases, the answer is yes. Mostly when we're using UI interfaces, user interfaces that are in the chat that is presented to us. So that is one risk. You want to think about what data you're actually typing into these chat interfaces. There are other ways to avoid that risk and reduce it. I'm not going to go into that right now, but there are ways that you can do that. So the model that it trains is has character. And so this is why the different vendors and different models have different capabilities. Some do some things better than others. Some do images better than others. Some do mathematics better than others. Some do language better than others. This is because of the patterns that are being reinforced in each of the models can be different. Now you'll also hear a word called generative AI. And that's a simple word that just means it's always being asked to produce something new. It doesn't want, as a program would do, give us the same thing. It's asking every time you're given data, produce something new. That's what generative means. Quite simple. And it's also being programmed, designed, I won't say programmed, it's being designed to answer with confidence. And here's the real kicker, it's also designed not to say, I don't know. So answer with confidence. Don't say that you don't know. and always give something new. That turns into what is classified as a hallucination at times, because that means that it could be something that is not true. It was completely made up, but it's said with confidence and it is new. And so, therefore, hallucinations are not a bug, but a feature. So, if we want to avoid hallucinations, what we're going to have to do is use something called retrieval augmented data. That means we're going to have to give the large language model a set of data that is only to be used for retrieving the answer. We're not going to just make things up. So it's one way to constrain it and get the answer that you need, especially if you need it from something factual, like you wanted to give information about your service or your product and not anybody else's product or service, and don't make it up. They're asking questions about this, and that's the answer that needs to be given. So that's retrieval augmented generation. Sometimes you'll see it shown as RAG, RAG. So this is the fuel that drives AI. Hopefully that helps.
Hey, if you're enjoying this content, please hit below, like, and subscribe. Also, we need your comments. We need your feedback. This is the major reason why we do free things, is to get feedback so we can get better at serving you. So please, please, please put your comments down there and let us know what you like, what you don't like, and how we can improve. Looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you so much, and on with the program.
Okay, so enough about the machine. Let's talk a little bit about you. We really need to focus on how this helps humans. So, us being the humans really revolves around our vision. What are we trying to get this machine to do for us? So, the first thing we're dealing with here is uh, awareness. So our learning journey starts with awareness. What do we know? What don't we know? And many times that involves research, possibly brainstorming. Well, these are great ways to leverage AI to get it to do research for us much quicker than we can. It'll also help us brainstorm and create divergent thinking where we can get lots and lots and lots of ideas to select the best ones from. So this is a really powerful perspective. We call it the access framework. So we start with awareness and we move into knowledge. Your knowledge is your ideas. Let's not forget about your ideas, okay? You have ideas, and that's where you want to drive the direction of the AI. Now, there's also domain facts. You have a domain of knowledge that is applicable here. And so we want to make sure we get that factored in. We want to make sure that your knowledge, things you already know, things you've written, is factored in. Then we have a set of skills, and these are methodologies. How do we get to the answers we need? We should think about these clearly because these are the things, and some of the agents that are working nowadays, actually, you can build skills for. So you can translate things that you do regularly into a skill that an AI agent can now do for you. So really, really important there. And then experience. You have experiences and past outcomes and understanding of things based on that experience that give you the proper context to understand things that perhaps the AI cannot. So this is really important in the factor that we're going to do experiments with AI, and we don't call them failures, we call that learning. So you're going to find out that when it fails, an expert is the person that knows every way it fails. A novice is the person that knows the way it's supposed to work. So we want to make sure that we know how it's supposed to work, and then we examine all the failures through experiments, and that gives us the expertise that we're looking for. And AI can really help to accelerate that. And so then the last piece is examples and templates and things of that nature that you can give it to guide the actual outcomes that you want. And this is accelerated learning. This is the combination of you and AI, the augmentation of your vision, your talent, your expertise that creates your learning journey. In the few years I've been using artificial intelligence, here's one thing that I found that is exactly correlated in real life. Better questions get you better answers. So, most of the things we have trouble uncovering in terms of identifying the answer is that we're not asking qualified questions. And so, the better we get at questioning, the better and more powerful the answers are going to be. So, when we get a very generic question, you may have had this experience already. You get a very generic answer, and they call this slop, AI slop, because what you're getting is something that lacks any kind of clarity, any specificity, any strategic orientation to what is important to you. So, where we're going to save time, AI really speeds things up. So let's spend more time on the front end creating better questions, making sure the questions are really in depth, they are really uh, highly specific so that folks can really get the answers that they're looking for. Make sense?
We want to take you from a strategic plan using our rapid business evaluator into a proof of concept that you can get validation and feedback from potential customers to an MVP where you have paying customers. That's a minimum viable product. They will pay for what your value that you're producing. That is the plan to success. So we can help you change your business if that's what you're looking to do. If you've already got the tools from these classes that you need in order to supercharge your business, have at it. But please give us the feedback. We need to know that. We need to know what kind of success you're having. So thanks. Appreciate you joining. Please come back and see us and let us know how you're doing. Love to have you in the community. Again, in the description below.
Okay, so here at TechBridge Unlimited, we're very, very focused on how to keep the focus on AI augmenting us as humans, giving us greater power, supercharging our activity and execution. So we think role clarity here is a key. So let's stay focused on you being the leader. You are the leader, and we want to make sure that that's always clear. The AI, think of it as your co-pilot. So it's bringing assistance to your leadership. Your leadership requires wisdom. You've got the understanding of where we're going. You're giving us clear strategic direction, and it is clearly executing on the strategic direction that you've given it. So think about it this way. You're the what we're doing, and this is the value proposition. You're discerning the business values, how it should be done to guide it, but you're telling us what it is that needs to be done. AI is assisting in the how, and it's giving us greater speed at getting to the how, and it's also giving us scale. So we want to deliver at scale. This is where AI is super helpful. We want to grow fast and we want to grow large. Don't want to be inhibited by our human uh, constraints of time and resource. The core responsibility of the human is the defining the goal. What are we trying to get done? And then it proposes the how, starts giving us the pathway to get there effectively. It can plan, it can report, it can give us lots and lots of help in getting there. And that's where the high performance comes from. So the high performance is connecting the two with role clarity, having distinct domains with where we have humans interacting and being augmented by the AI. Let's not get this twisted, though. I'm going to give you a fair warning. The human is always accountable. This is non negotiable. There is no accountability for a machine. So we don't want it to damage our reputation and the autonomous agents and things that are going on now. You don't want it saying things that are not in line with your values. You don't want it to do things that could hurt or harm you or your business. So this is the warning to make sure that we're always keeping clear the role of AI and the role of us as the human. We create the guardrail. So, just to reiterate, and we want to make sure we land this clearly, as we walk through the access framework, getting to the what may include things like creating greater awareness, finding out the things that you don't know, filling in some of the blanks. AI can really be helpful here. Coming up with new and fresh ideas, given that we know what we come from, but we want to generate something new. We want to create a new solution. We want to find things that are maybe not obvious. These are all areas that AI is great at. So recognizing new patterns, getting new insights from data that we may have. This is all the ways we can get to the what. This is crucial because the what is what drives everything else. We need to know what we're going to be working on before we start driving towards the how. So getting a clear what is essential. Now, the machine domain, we can go into giving it the how. We have now entered into the age of agentic AI. And these agents are incredible at creating plans, roadmaps, scaling, identifying data, doing research, finding new ways to get things done, creating drafts for our approval, and making variations on different things that we feed it. We can just pass it a task and it can come back and give us the actual results. This is incredible times to think about the what and the how. So, again, with the access framework, we can talk about the what in ways that are things like awareness and increasing our awareness. We can get then look at the how in terms of things like our skills, our experiences, and we marry those skills and experiences to the awareness and knowledge that we have, and now the how gets really clear and really crisp. Uh, AI cannot originate this. These are the things that it needs you to guide it. Otherwise, again, we're talking about generic AI slop. So let's avoid that and get elite outcomes that are going to help you drive to success in whatever you're attempting to do. So one of the things we've noticed in TechBridge Unlimited in our use of AI over the years has been the potential for miscommunication between AI and humans. We think this is where most of the frustration comes from. And so reducing that tension and taking that tension out is essential to getting elite outcomes. So what we're looking at is a method that allows us to, for humans to talk to AI clearly in its language and avoid the communication breakdown. Just as clearly, AI needs to be able to respond to the human in a way that it has the proper context for them. And in this way, we talk about personal DNA and creating a framework for those two communication paths to operate where we're getting a translation of the language and avoiding miscommunication. This is a gap we've seen over and over and over. And once we close it, the results are remarkable. So, one of the key concepts we want to help you understand is that you do not have to be technical to technically use AI. There's a process that the inference we talked about earlier is driven by what they call a prompt. Your input is the prompt. So, one of the disciplines that has emerged from AI usage is something called prompt engineering. What I'm telling you right now is you don't have to be a prompt engineer to prompt AI like a prompt engineer. Let me boil that down for you. What I'm saying is we can make you the engineer of having AI engineer your prompts. So we call it the CRISP method. And this method will provide to the AI context, role that the AI should play, the instructions that you want executed, the structure of the data, and the purpose of the prompt itself. This intent and raw human input is then correlated to that structure to say, give me a prompt in the crisp format. And it will give you a prompt that might have taken you a very long time to craft. So it becomes your prompt engineer, in fact. And it translates simple ideas into structural commands that the AI can then execute on very, very strongly versus how the generic prompts that we might give it would give us the AI slop we warned against. Hopefully, we reduce some of the technical tension and stress that you were thinking about by letting you know that we can actually use the AI to be the technical prompt engineer. For the human, we want to use our access framework and make sure that we have a strategic way to approach how we use AI. So again, we're reducing any friction and frustration for the human. The machine cannot initiate any of these sequences. We're giving you tools and concepts to actually do that effectively and do it more regularly with greater outcomes. So this is the intent of this particular training. We gave you some awareness of what is possible, what structures can be used to get there. We've also talked about some knowledge about how AI actually works. And now if we go down the framework next, we want to talk to the skills. So this is part one of our training. In part two, we'll actually get into the skills and drive some experiences that will help you create specimens and thereby complete the access framework. So all of our training is organized in this way. Hopefully you found this useful thus far. AI is a force multiplier for humans. We're looking to help you augment what you already are great at and make yourself even greater. By the way, this process that we've described can be used over and over and over again. And we recommend that you, as you approach AI, you think of each time you approach it with a specific use case. What am I trying to get done? This is where it really becomes powerful. And you cannot even imagine at this point in time the results that are available to you when you start to use this lens.
Well, thanks again for taking our class. Again, this is Kevin Robinson at TechBridge Unlimited. We hope you'll return and look at some of the other videos being posted right now. Please post in the comments your thoughts and whether or not this was of value to you. This feedback is extremely important to us, and we definitely respond to it. So thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you in other videos.